Uniswap is delisting some of the coins that are available to trade permissionlessly? Let's dig in. Welcome back to the channel, boys and girls. Hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you're notified when new videos come out. Your support is so appreciated. As you know, we're always trying to push to that next level of subscribership, and we value you being here. It means a lot to me personally, certainly. Let me jump out of the way and show you exactly what was posted on the Uniswap blog. This is at uniswap.org/blog/token-access-app. You can find links, of course, in the description as well. Just want to let you know if you're only listening. And the blog is entitled Token Access on app.uniswap.org. Let's just distinguish there. Uniswap is also a protocol, but the name of the blog post, the title of the blog post, helps clue us into what is actually happening. Many people have been concerned about this, but the title itself describes what's happening. There'll be changes to the front-end user interface, not to the core protocol. But I digress. It says Uniswap Labs, a software development studio that contributes to the Uniswap protocol, is proud to play a part in creating a better, more equitable financial system. One of Uniswap Labs' contributions is the portal it provides at app.uniswap.org, an open source interface for reliable, trustworthy interaction with the Uniswap protocol. More on that later, it being open source. They continue to say, to continue to innovate and provide this tool for the Uniswap community, we monitor the evolving regulatory landscape. Today, consistent with actions taken by other DeFi interfaces, we have taken the decision to restrict access to certain tokens through app.uniswap.org. These tokens have always represented a very small portion of overall volume on the Uniswap protocol. A full list is available here. We have that open in another browser tab. We'll take a look in just a moment. Importantly, the Uniswap protocol, unlike the interface, is a set of autonomous, decentralized, and immutable smart contracts. It provides unrestricted access to anyone with an internet connection. Similarly, this action has no impact on the Uniswap interface code, which remains open source, or the many other portals or locally run instances used to access the Uniswap protocol. Moving forward, we will continue to develop products and contribute to the Uniswap protocol in a way that is consistent with the broader DeFi industry's values, to provide safe, transparent, and robust financial infrastructure that can empower users around the world. I really appreciate this outreach by Uniswap Labs. I think that there's a little bit of consternation, right, in the DeFi space, in the crypto sphere, especially on crypto Twitter. A lot of hand wringing, a lot of very concerned citizens, right, and a lot of Bitcoin maximalists who are prematurely dancing on the graves of DeFi. That's not what's happening here. Let's dig in a little bit more closely. First off, by taking a look at some commentary over at Trust Nodes about this action. Here's a quote directly from the article we just read. We monitor the evolving regulatory landscape, and in a follow-up, the Trust Nodes author asks, it's not clear what regulatory landscape they're referring to exactly, with some suggesting synthetic stocks that track the price of spot stocks are to be treated the same as spot stocks, meaning there's not a regulatory shift other than that there are already some regulations in place that already govern this sort of thing. They go on to say, SushiSwap, however, Uniswap's fork, has not taken such action. One project is now trying to move their tokens to SushiSwap, but it's not clear why eventually the same thing might not occur on SushiSwap. Following this move, there have been calls to open source the front end as well so that anyone can run it. Now, this shows a supreme lack of attention. We just read the article, read the blog post directly at Uniswap, and where they say very clearly that the front end source code is open. It's already available for forking, which is why SushiSwap exists. So Trust Nodes, please do a little better. That was a bit of oversight by whoever your author was there. Let me see if I can get a name. Nope, no name for this one, and I apologize, but whoever wrote that one up, please try to understand what's going on here. The entire stack is open source, but the hosted front end at Uniswap, app.uniswap.org, is being altered by Uniswap Labs to not allow for easier access to these tokens. Let's take a look at the tokens in question, though. And this is on github.com under the Uniswap repository and the Uniswap interface repository underneath that. These are the changes. And there's quite a bit, right over 1,000 lines here, but it'll represent only so many changes to the coins. But highlighting the names, we got Gold Tether, Grumpy Cat, Ape USD, UMA Synthetic USD of December 2021. That's oddly specific, right? I think I understand what they were saying. O wrapped ETH P put 360 December 2520. Not sure what that token is. OYFI P put 25,000 October 0220. Several of wrapped ETH-C call 500. OBAL P put 22. Put call call. These are interesting tokens that I think were only useful for a short period of time and to a very small number of users. Clearly, these are calls and puts, but we've got some other things like OPIN CDI insurance, OPIN CUSDC insurance. So some interesting insurance tokens there. Synth Inverse Aave, Synth Inverse Cardano, Synth Inverse Binance Coin, Bitcoin, Centralized Exchange Index, Inverse Compound, Inverse Dash, all these synth tokens that I think that the blog post is pretty straightforward. These are things that I don't think many people will miss. However, the precedent of Uniswap making this change, or Uniswap Labs making this change to the hosted front end for app.uniswap.org, it does bring up some additional questions. And yes, there was some controversy. And yes, there was some, again, premature dancing on the grave of DeFi on the part of some people in the space, which is ironic considering that Bitcoin's run up both in 2017 and last year. And this year has been largely due to Tether living on Ethereum. But I digress. Here's some additional info, and let me show you that. We'll just talk about this. A write-up by a partner at KL Gates, one Drew Hinks, who's an adjunct professor at NYU Stern and NYU Law alum. Definitely love the interpretation here. So I'm going to go ahead and read quite a bit of this, not word for word, but read quite a bit of their write-up on Twitter. This was just from 16 hours ago, published. It says there's been lots of talk about Uniswap front end and interfaces, blacklisting tokens that might be securities. This is not an attack on DeFi or regulation of DeFi specifically. He says, but instead, it's a logical example of how existing regulation applies to legally addressable entities. These guys, right? The unicorn guys. Uniswap Labs, right? That is a face that the government can punch, I'll say, interpreting Drew's words here. Drew goes on to say, including those that facilitate the use of decentralized systems, in this case, legally addressable interface providers. And this isn't new. Quietly, many front-end providers are also engaged in sanctions compliance. While laws obviously apply to legally addressable actors, this does not mean that regulation has applied or will be applied directly to protocol code, at least not yet. This is because code itself is not legally addressable. It has its own rule set governing its environment, and law cannot change code. Although law can act on people who use, build, and support code. In my recent paper with Professor Carla Reyes and Andrea Tossato, he says they highlighted the key distinction between code-given abilities and legally addressable rights and powers. We may review that in the near future, as well as a recent write-up on Tether specifically and stablecoins specifically, because of this ecosystem that is shifting and the increased, we'll say, scrutiny. Maybe not actual changing of the landscape, but increased scrutiny by lawmakers does, in my mind, make it seem inevitable that there will be some changes down the line. But Drew goes on to say, that distinction is in play once again. The key idea is that limits in code may limit the ability for legal power to affect code, and thus to restrain user abilities within the technical environment created by that code. In turn, law may impact the usability of assets created by code in contexts outside of the technical environment created by the code. So while one front-end provider limiting access to some assets available by the underlying protocol is interesting, it doesn't signal new regulation of DeFi per se. Legal power is still limited in the context of some systems. So I really appreciate that. It goes on to mention several other things, but I just wanted to leave it largely at that, you have somebody from NYU Stern, right? You have somebody who is a partner at a respected law firm who's not giving advice right here, not totally interpreting what these law means yet, but these actions mean totally, right? In a legal sense, none of us is retaining his counsel, right, to ask him for specific advice. But I think he's giving us a little bit of context and a little bit of insight into right now the reality. Anybody can look and see that if there's a legal entity, that legal entity can be attacked, right, by legislation. And as he says so eloquently, in essence, the Uniswap protocol that powers the DeFi engine of Uniswap, that's addressable by any other front end and running locally on a user's machine. You don't have to go to a website. In fact, what Uniswap or what SushiSwap or others may want to do, this is my call to action to the developer community, is simply create some type of Electron application that's very easy for users to run at home, for any at-home non-technical user to run at home, and then be able to participate that way without any public-facing website, without any other, public representation of the protocol like app.uniswap.org. Don't mean to trivialize the amount of work that's going to go into it, but it seems obvious that the protocol is still alive and well, and all of those assets that were mentioned before over on GitHub, if you still want to access them, they're still accessible. If you really have to have some synth inverse dash in your life, that's still accessible through the protocol. Guys, thanks so much for watching to the end of the video. Appreciate you hitting that thumbs up, sharing this video, obviously subscribing, clicking the bell icon. Your support means so much. I love your face. See you in the next one. Remember to stay private and mind your biz. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you want to be notified of videos like this in the future, first off, click subscribe, press the bell icon. Additionally, you can sign up for the Mind Your Biz email newsletter. That'll give you exclusive access to certain freebies, notifications for deals within the cryptocurrency mining space, as well as some of our flash sales for merchandise, which you can buy with cryptocurrency. That's right. It's the only cryptocurrency merch that you can buy with cryptocurrency. We practice what we preach. As always, thank you so much for watching. You're the reason I make this media. I love your face, and I will see you in the next one.